All right, let's dive into the world of Rickey Henderson, shall we? Baseball's most prolific base stealer. And we've got some pretty interesting stuff here from his Wikipedia page. Get this. The guy wasn't just born fast, he was born, like, on the move. Literally in the backseat of a car.
December 25th, 1958, in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about making an entrance, right?
Yeah, it's almost like that set the tone for his whole career.
It really does seem that way.
He even said later, I was already fast, I couldn't wait. But it wasn't all about speed. The guy was a multi-sport star in high school, right? Football, basketball, track.
Oh, yeah, natural athlete.
Yeah.
His mom, though, he actually steered him towards baseball. She figured longer career, probably a good idea, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine those what-if scenarios? Like, what if he'd gone into football?
Oh, man.
Who knows?
Could have been a whole different story. And here's a detail I bet you'll find interesting. He batted right, but threw left.
Oh, wow.
Pretty rare combo.
Definitely unusual, yeah. Especially at his level. I wonder if that, somehow contributed to his success on the bases.
Makes you think, right?
Does.
Now, speaking of which, his minor league career, basically a stolen base clinic, shattered records with the Modesto A's, which kind of like foreshadowed what was to come, don't you think?
Yeah, but it's not even just that he stole bases. It's that he changed the whole game with his speed.
Yeah.
I mean, teams had to completely rethink how they played defense.
Right.
Pitchers, they were terrified to throw anything but fastballs. Catchers, they're always rushing. Infielders, on edge all the time. It was wild.
Yeah, it's like he weaponized speed, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like a psychological weapon.
Okay, so flash forward to the Oakland A's, that legendary Billy Ball era.
Oh, yeah.
Manager Billy Martin, known for that aggressive style, take no prisoners, right? And it just meshed perfectly with Rickey's game.
Perfect match, both of them. Always taking risks, forcing the action, putting pressure on the other team. And it turned those A's teams into real contenders. I mean, they were forced to be reckoned with.
Yeah. And at the heart of it was Rickey rewriting the stolen base record books, right?
Absolutely.
He became the only to-lie player in American League history to steal over 100 bases in a season. And he did it not once, but 3 times.
Think about that.
Yeah.
100 stolen bases. It's incredible. Most players, they just dream of doing that once. And he did it 3 times.
Yeah.
It just shows you the level of dominance he achieved. Nobody has come even close since.
So we know he was fast, but he wasn't just like blindly sprinting,
No, not at all.
He was a master strategist on the base paths.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things we want to highlight here. We're going beyond just listing achievements.
Right.
We're trying to give you like the real insights, right?
Absolutely.
So Rickey was known for meticulously studying pitchers.
Oh, yeah. Analyzing their motions, timing their moves to first base, basically figuring out all their tells.
So it was more about anticipation than just reaction.
Exactly. He was always one step ahead.
And then there's that iconic batting stance. The Rickey Crouch.
Oh, yeah.
Practically squatting down. Right. Shrinking that strike zone. Driving pitchers absolutely crazy.
Oh, it was unbelievable to watch.
Right.
People would accuse him of showing off, but, he knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Try pitching to someone crouched that low. It throws everything off.
Absolutely. And then to top it off, the guy wasn't just a speedster. He could hit for power, too.
Right? Absolutely.
I mean, he and Eric Davis, they're the only O-Slay players ever to join the 2080 club. 20-plus home runs and 80-plus stolen bases in a single season.
Incredible.
It's insane.
It's almost mythical, that club.
Yeah.
Because it requires you to be like an elite hitter and base runner at the same time. It's just, like I said, practically unheard of.
Yeah. So a 5-tool player, but also a showman, right?
Yeah.
Constantly entertaining the fans, sometimes even, talking about himself in the third person.
Oh, classic Rickey.
Oh.
Rickey wants to play baseball. I mean, it's almost as famous as some of his, on-field stuff.
Speaking of famous, remember the story about him framing his $1 million bonus check?
Oh, yeah, instead of cashing it.
And the per diem envelopes, letting his kids pick one out as, a reward for good grades?
Oh, that's great.
Definitely a unique personality, this guy.
Absolutely. Larger than life.
No, there's this myth that's been going around that he didn't even recognize his own teammate, John Olerud, even though they played together on, multiple teams.
Oh, right.
But thankfully, that's been debunked.
Yeah, it's funny how those stories, stick around.
I know.
It's almost like people want to believe those legends, even if they're not true.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, what's more memorable? The reality or the myth?
That's a good question.
And that brings us to maybe the most controversial moment of his career, the greatest of all time speech. after he broke Lou Brock's stolen base record in '82.
Oh, yeah, that one definitely caused a stir. Some people called him arrogant.
Oh, yeah.
But he said later that he was actually channeling Muhammad Ali and that it was meant to be a tribute. What do you think? Was it a bit much? Or was it just, Ricky being Ricky?
It's a tough one, but I think to really understand it, you got to look at the context. We're not talking about just some random player making bold claims here.
No, no, not at all.
This is the guy who broke what was thought to be an unbreakable record, 130 stolen bases in a single season. And that takes a level of confidence most of us can't even fathom.
Right. You almost have to believe in your own greatness to even attempt something like that, let alone actually do it.
It's like that self-belief kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know what I mean?
Hit it.
And even his most, controversial moments, like that speech, maybe it was just another reflection of that incredible confidence.
It's possible. I mean, he definitely blurred the lines between confidence and, well, maybe a bit of self-promotion sometimes. But you can't deny the result.
No, you can't. The guy delivered.
And, it wasn't just about individual awards with him either. He was a key part of 2 World Series championships. First with the A's in '89, and then with the Blue Jays in '93.
Yeah, he wasn't just a one-man show. He knew how to help his team win it all. Now, are you ready for some, mind-blowing stats?
Lay 'em on me.
Rickey holds the record for most runs scored in MLB history, most stolen bases, most unintentional walks, most leadoff home runs. It's crazy.
I mean, it really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? He wasn't just good. He was historically great. And across multiple categories, too.
Right.
It's easy to just think about the stolen bases. But he was like an all-around offensive threat.
And his former teammate, Mitchell Page, he said it best. Rickey Henderson is a run, man. That's it.
He wasn't kidding.
It's not even hyperbole. It's like Rickey embodied the idea of scoring runs.
Yeah.
Like he was the heart of the game in a lot of ways.
Speaking of heart, his head-first sliding technique, just incredible. Like, he didn't just slide, he perfected it. He even studied airplane landings to get better.
Wait, really? Airplane landings?
Yeah, can you believe that?
That's wild.
Applying, aeronautical principles to baseball, it just shows you how much thought and effort he put into every aspect of his game.
It's amazing. So he was always pushing the boundaries, challenging the traditional way of doing things. And that kind of extended to his relationship with fans too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they absolutely loved him in Oakland. But in New York, it was a bit different.
Yeah.
It's funny how different cities kind of reacted to his personality. Oakland embraced it all. The eccentricities, the swagger, the whole showmanship thing.
Yeah, but New York with the intense media scrutiny and all.
Yeah, it's tough.
Maybe they focused too much on the quirks and controversies.
Right.
And kind of overshadowed all his accomplishments.
It's too bad, because under all of that, there was a real love for the game and a drive to win.
Oh, yeah. And when he did, we're not talking about some flash-in-the-pan player.
Not at all.
The guy had a long and successful career, 25 seasons.
Amazing.
To maintain that level of play for so long, especially with, his high-energy, high-impact style.
Exactly. You'd think all that running and sliding would catch up to him. But he took amazing care of himself, always focused on staying in top shape.
Yeah, he knew that to have that kind of longevity, you needed more than just talent. You needed discipline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He understood when to go all out and when to maybe hold back a bit. A valuable lesson for all of us, really.
So he was playing the long game, on the field and off. We also have to mention his impact beyond just playing the game, though. He really helped pave the way for future Black players.
For sure. He was a true pioneer, breaking down barriers, inspiring tons of young athletes.
Yeah, and even after he retired, he kept giving back to the game, working as a coach, a mentor. His passion for baseball never really faded.
Never did.
So as we, start to wrap up this deep dive into Rickey Henderson, it's pretty clear he was way more than just a baseball player.
Yeah.
He was an icon, a character, a true legend.
He was a force of nature, really.
Yeah.
This unique mix of talent, personality, and, some controversy, too.
Of course.
And I think people are going to be debating and celebrating his impact on the game for years to come.
No doubt. He was truly one of a kind. We may never see another player quite like him.
That's true.
Now, when you take a look at his career, all of it, the longevity, the dominance, the pure entertainment value, where do you think he stands among, the all-time greats?
It's a tough question, right? I mean, you got your Babe Ruths, your Willie Mays, your Hank Aaron's.
This is a tough one.
But just in terms of his impact on the game, Do you think Rickey earns a spot up there with those legends?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, his stats are undeniable, right?
Hmm.
His accomplishments, the way he changed the game. But baseball greatness, I don't know, it's about more than just numbers, isn't it?
It totally is. It's about legacy,
Hmm.
about influence, pushing the limits of what's even possible. And I think that's where Rickey, he really stands out. He changed how everyone thought about base running, turned it into an art form almost, a weapon even. Yeah. And a spectacle for sure. Nobody had ever brought that kind of excitement and unpredictability to the base paths before.
Right.
And it wasn't just the fans either. It was his peers, the managers, even his opponents. Everybody knew he was something special.
Remember that quote from Tony La Russa, who managed him in Oakland? He said, he rises to the occasion, the big moment, better than anyone I've ever seen.
Wow.
Clutch performer.
Totally. And that, it kind of brings us back to the whole personality thing.
Uh-huh.
The swagger, the confidence that sometimes is almost arrogance.
Yeah.
And it's easy to judge, but honestly, I think it was part of what made him so successful. He believed in his own greatness.
Yeah.
And that belief kind of pushed him to do those incredible things.
Almost like a, I don't know, a self-fulfilling prophecy or something.
Right, right.
And even those controversial moments, like the whole greatest of all time speech, maybe that was just another part of that unwavering confidence.
It might have been. I mean, you got to remember, he wasn't just some average player saying stuff like that. He just smashed Lou Brock's record, a record everyone thought was untouchable.
It takes serious guts to even try something like that,
Yeah.
let alone pull it off. And that's what makes him so fascinating, right? This walking contradiction.
Hmm.
Cocky but dedicated, a total showman, but also like a student of the game. People either loved him or hated him.
Totally. And all of that complexity, I think, is what makes his legacy so interesting. It's not just a simple story.
No.
It's nuanced, It's got all these different sides, open to interpretation.
Exactly. And it's a legacy people will probably be debating for years to come. But beyond the numbers and the controversy, there's one thing about Rickey's career that's it's remarkable.
Yeah.
And that's his longevity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 25 seasons at that level. It's unbelievable. Especially with his style of play, all that running, all those stolen bases, it's got to take a toll on your body.
You'd think he'd have burnt out way sooner, but he took care of himself.
He did.
Knew that to keep up that speed and agility, he had to be in top shape.
Yeah, he was smart about it. A master of pacing himself. Knew when to push it and when to, conserve his energy,
Yeah.
both physically and mentally.
It's a good lesson for anyone, really, not just athletes. Knowing when to go all out and when to hold back a bit, if you want to be successful long term, that is.
For sure. Yeah. And that kind of brings us back to where we started, doesn't it?
It does.
We wanted to understand not just the stats, but the whole person.
Right?
The personality, the mindset. What made Rickey Henderson so different?
And what a ride it's been. We've covered so much. His athletic achievements, his revolutionary style of base running, his bigger-than-life personality, even the times he stirred up controversy.
He definitely kept things interesting.
He did. Rickey Henderson, he was truly one of a kind, an absolute force of nature, a showman, an innovator, a true legend of the game. And we'll leave you with this. Rickey once said, "If you talk about baseball, you can't eliminate me. So after all this, after this deep dive, what do you think? Was he right? What's his place in the history of baseball?" That's for you to decide. Thanks for joining.